Dear viewers, this is Kochi for Big History Cameroon, Africa. I want to talk about food security. Food security in effect is just the aspect of cultivating enough crops for oneself and having enough to sell. Why I want to talk about food security in Cameroon, in particular in Africa in general, is that food security is really again a far-fetched dream. Far-fetched dream in which sense? I just want to mean that the Cameroonian society is still, for me, is still not very able to produce enough food to sell and to have enough. Like a local farmer is still not really able to produce enough food for himself and enough to sell. It means he will sell this food and maybe rent a good home or house, maybe send his children to good schools. So Cameroonian, a typical local farmer in Cameroon is still struggling to maybe sell a little, to keep a little for his family, not really enough. Due to, I can say that the causes of this is just due to the policy makers. We don't have good policy makers that will give good subventions to farmers in Cameroon. And now, but yet the government and foreign countries pump in money for this sector. But unfortunately, the money gets down to the farmer in bits, and then maybe at times never reaches the farmer, because when, for instance, when the government can send the minister will send the delegate will send this, and then before it will reach the farmers group, the farmer will not get anything very tangible to carry out the good project. That's one of the reasons why food security to a Cameroonian farmer is really a far-fetched dream. For instance, when I want to take a case of a particular crop like rice, when I go into the shops around here, I see rice from Thailand, rice from China, rice from other countries, and then rice is the highest food stuff that is found in stores. It simply means that for me, I can say that 70% is the feed on rice. So, but now, how much rice is being cultivated in Cameroon? That's the problem. And what would happen if maybe in other countries just decide to cut their exportation of food to Africa, okay, or to Cameroon in particular? It means that this rice, it will not be available. We have a corporation that is specialized for rice production in Cameroon, but it will hardly produce enough for the population, talk less of exporting this rice. When we come to other food crops like maize, maize is something that is locally produced, and Cameroon, for instance, has a very good soil, fertile soil for these crops. But unfortunately, it is surprising that Cameroon imports yearly tons of maize in order to cope with its industrial and the local consumption of maize, just maize alone. So for me, I just want to think that a Cameroonian farmer needs much knowledge on how to cultivate in order to guarantee food security. Cameroonian farmers still lack in terms of knowledge. It lacks in terms of material. It lacks in terms of orientation. It lacks in terms of good policy makers, because the government really has to make good policies for the production, enough production of maize. So, as I said, I'm a founder of COMAFAR. COMAFAR is just a cooperative covenant maize farm. It's a cooperative, a small farmers group. But what we want to do to specialize in maize, to see that in the future Cameroon may not import as much corn as it does now. But yet we are faced with challenges to have land. Land titles is difficult, and then something like maize. Maize is something that needs a vast land. And for individual or for little groups, farmer groups, to have this land of maybe about 25 hectares of land, 30 hectares is really something pretty difficult. So we just think that if the government can do something to be able to provide land where these farmers groups, it's not only COMAFAR that is a farmer group, there are many other initiative groups in Cameroon, but land is the problem. We need land. We need to develop this land. It means we need material, we need machinery, we need, because to say that we produce for now, the maize that we produce locally is very insufficient. It's insufficient that when we sell out our stock once, the next demand we cannot be able to supply because we supply cultivated maize on a little 10 hectares of land. So food security is really something that the government really needs again to look into. And then for the foreign powers that think that can help to empower the agricultural sector in Cameroon, I think the best way is giving them the technical know-how to produce on a higher scale. I don't even think that giving aid to this farmer in terms of cash is really a solution, because this most of the time for this farmer to really have these funds is difficult. So the Cameroonian farmer needs something more concrete, something materialistic, some knowledge in order to produce, in order to guarantee food security, maybe for the next 5 or the next 1 decade to come. Thank you.